Hello everyone. I would like to talk to you about the major development proposal for the ILS that requires a new flight path for the Gold Coast. I believe most of us are familiar with this map. It shows the existing flight path over the ocean. It crosses the coast at Currumbin and then lines up with the runway. This is the proposed new flight path for ILS landings. Almost 200,000 residents live in the large pink area and will experience increased aircraft noise levels of up to 65 dBA during times of high air traffic volumes. Not so lucky are nearly 60,000 residents in the red area who will experience much louder aircraft noise events of up to 74 dBA on a regular basis. As you can see, most of our beautiful beaches and parks are under the new flight path. This area is also highly residential and very densely populated. Think of the high-rises in Surface and Broadbeach, for example. The blue circle under the plane shows the level of noise exposure. The brighter the colour, the more noise. It shows the affected areas: Surface, Broadbeach Waters and Broadbeach, Mermaid Waters, Miami, Burleigh, Palm Beach and Currumbin. And here it basically joins the existing flight path. Here are some landmarks. Let's look at it from a different angle. This is the height chart that Air Services Australia has in their brochure. To make it a bit clearer, I have added a few familiar buildings. If we imagine the Q1 was in Palm Beach, then the plane would almost touch that pointy spire. What are the advantages of ILS? ILS assists pilots with their landing approach in bad weather. Because the technology has been around since the 1930s, it has become a standard in aviation, and all aircraft are equipped to use ILS. That is all good, but there are shortfalls. It's old technology. It requires a straight line approach of 10 nautical miles or 18 kilometres, and it is expensive. There are alternatives to ILS. RNP, also known as smart tracking, has been operational at our airport since November 2014, and in just 6 months it has already reduced flight diversions. Honeywell's Smart Path System, or GBAS, is highly regarded by experts as the modern replacement for ILS. Both are modern digital systems and do not require a change to the existing flight path. GBAS, or Smart Path, allows the pilot to fly at a lower altitude than under ILS using the current flight path over the ocean, and therefore increases the number of successful landings during times of poor visibility. It is superior to ILS in all aspects. It can handle up to 26 approaches simultaneously on busy airports. The ILS, in contrast, can only provide an analog approach signal for one plane at a time. But Smart Path has shortfalls too. Being a new technology, older aircraft are not yet equipped with the extra instrumentation for Smart Path. Pilots will need extra training and airlines will need certification to use the GBAS. Here is what Air Services Australia thinks about Smart Path. It is recognised by international civil aviation organisations as a replacement for current instrument landing systems, ILS. SmartPath is a critical component of Australia's next-generation air traffic management infrastructure. If we compare the cost, then we find that we could save $8 million by installing much newer technology instead of an ILS that's approaching its use-by date. Additionally, the ongoing maintenance costs for the ILS are considerably more than for SmartPath. Do we need ILS economically? $10 million of taxpayers' money for 6 to 12 diversions per year, that's 0.05% of all flights, and approximately 1,350 passengers could benefit per year, versus almost 60,000 people who live under a new flight path. Based on old statistics and before RNP was operational, 50 flights each year had to be diverted to other airports in extreme weather. Now that equates to 0.14% of all 34,000 flights. Now that RNP is operational, there will be less flight diversions. We are talking about 6 to 12 flights each year, or 0.05% of all flights. But remember that there is no system, including ILS, that can guarantee a successful landing. There are some myths about ILS. One of them is that planes can land in any weather. That is simply wrong. There are certain weather situations, such as crosswinds, poor visibility and fog, that prohibit landing an aircraft. Another myth is that ILS improves safety. That is also not true, because if landing is not 100% safe, the pilot will simply not land. Another myth is that we need ILS for tourism. That is incorrect, because studies confirm that 15% of the general population have difficulties tolerating noise at certain frequencies and above certain levels. This also applies to some of our tourists who will find the Gold Coast too noisy to relax and may never come back. Let's have a look at who will be affected. Nearly 60,000 residents will be affected under the new ILS flight path. Schools, churches, hospitals, nursing homes and medical centres. Hotels, holiday resorts and tourists. Children and shift workers. Families who spend their weekends at our beaches and parks. Here is what we should be concerned about. Health effects of long-term exposure to aircraft noise. Research findings by studies from Harvard School of Public Health and Boston University School of Public Health that were printed in the British Medical Journal, along with a similar study conducted around London's Heathrow Airport, both found links between aircraft noise and health effects. Let's have a look at another example. In 2009, a study came up with a map similar to this. The black dots indicate where people lived who suffered a stroke or heart attack. And here is the reason for it. The airport had a major expansion in the early 1990s, and what we see here is the result of long-term exposure to aircraft noise. This study was ordered by the German government and revealed a 172% increase in stroke hospitalisations for women and 69% increase for males. Higher than normal incidence of heart attack and cardiovascular disease. Higher than normal number of patients with stress-related diseases. After reading the report, the German Environment Minister said in a press conference, This report should come as a warning to all governments who plan to expand their airports. There are serious health effects which must be considered. Insufficient sleep makes us drowsy and we lose concentration easily. I think we all agree that a 7-hour night curfew is just not good enough. A child, for instance, needs 10 to 12 hours sleep, and shift workers have not even been considered. Insufficient sleep results in poor learning outcomes, increase in accidents, and reduced performance at work. Now let's look at the noise levels. 74 decibels is what Air Services Australia tells us we will be exposed to every time a plane flies over our roofs. As a comparison, a vacuum cleaner has 74 decibels. And when a truck drives past, it also has a noise level of approximately 74 decibels. If you ever had to stop on the M1, the traffic that drives past has also a similar noise level. The environmental assessment by Air Services Australia considers fauna, Indigenous culture, World Heritage matters, whale migration, frogs and insects, but it doesn't consider human health. Let's have a look at property values. You don't need to be Einstein to understand that a property under a flight path is not the ideal place that people would choose as their home. The only thing that sells a property in a noisy area is the price. Anything sells when the price is right. If you look at property reports in other noise-affected areas, you will find that the basics of supply and demand apply. The result is decreased marketability, reductions in property values, increased selling periods, potential reduction in rental income for investors. Let's have a look at how many planes will really fly over our roofs. 8 planes on a clear day, and Air Services Australia says we have 140 clear days each year. 33 planes on cloudy days, and we would expect 90 cloudy days per year. And 82 planes on bad weather days. And Air Services Australia thinks there are no more than 10 bad weather days. This chart is based on Airport's master plan. It's been on their website since 2012. Their projected growth figures show a steady increase in passengers over a 20-year period. We are now in 2015, and if the ILS goes ahead next year, we will see 7.2 million passengers and 12.3 million in 10 years' time. That translates to more frequent flight arrivals. The minutes that pass between each noticeable or annoying noise event are here in the vertical. As you can see, the quiet minutes that pass between each flyover become less as the air traffic grows over time. When ILS is operational next year, we will have a plane flying over our roof every 10 minutes on a bad day. In 10 years' time, there will be only 6 quiet minutes before the next plane comes past. And in 15 years' time, our children will hear a plane every 5 minutes. When we look at these projected figures, and they are documented in the airport master plan, then we will start with not 8, but 11 planes on clear days, not 33, but 41 planes on cloudy days, and not 82, but 102 planes in bad weather. But The pilot decides his approach and can use ILS anytime, any weather, and any day. Don't sit back and let it happen. Once the flight corridor is here, it will be here forever. This is all about you, your health, your property, your lifestyle. You have a voice. Use it. When you go home tonight, submit your objection online if you can. Don't leave it for another day. Go to www.goldcoastairport.com.au and then click Regulatory. Alternatively, you can go to our website and click Submit Your Objections. You will find a list of comments that you can copy and paste into the online submission form. This is also a link that takes you straight to Gold Coast Airport's public consultation form. If you can't do it online, grab one of our submission forms, fill it in, add your own comments, and send your objections by mail. The address is printed in red on the form. If you want to do more, then door knock your local street and speak to your neighbours. Encourage people to submit their objections also. If you want to help us, we need support from business leaders, legal experts, media experts, organisations and clubs, noise study experts, and community leaders. If you want a successful campaign against the proposed ILS, we need your support because this issue will not go away until the proposal has been rejected by our federal government. Remember, this is what could happen if you sit back and leave it up to others.